64 retro gaming goodness.
Welcome to the Video Games Hall of Justice, where the loving memories of the world's most remembered Amiga games are put on trial and given a chance to prove their worth, once and for all. This is Judge and Jury.
All rise, Judge Drokk presiding. In this courtroom we will examine the cult status and time-honoured legacy of some of the Amiga's most revered titles. And with the help of a jury of experts in their field, we'll offer a final verdict as to whether the legacy of the titles on trial are indeed justified. In court today is IK Plus by Archer Mclean and published on the Amiga in 1989, a welcome conversion of the 1987 Commodore 64 original. Here, Archer Mclean takes full advantage of the martial arts craze, reignited thanks to movies such as Karate Kid. A traditional and faithful game of karate, but this time with the added challenge of facing not one, but two simultaneous opponents. In a world before Street Fighter II and Mortal Kombat reimagined the beat-em-up genre, IK Plus was a clear roundhouse ahead of the opposition. The only games coming close were the original International Karate and the 64's wonderful but flawed Way of the Exploding Fist from 1985. Archer Mclean, one of the Commodore 64's Brat Pack, polished IK Plus like a diamond and squeezed more bone-crunching fun out of an 8-direction one-button joystick than was previously thought possible. This court will not find any 12-button combos here. However, times have changed. Men in pajamas became uber-powerful fighting superheroes in the years after this game's release, continuing on to the sexualized Dead or Alive and polygon exuberance of Tekken and beyond. So, today we invite Archer Mclean into the house to stand trial and prove his creation's legacy is justified. This is not Archer's first time in front of a judge, however. Data East took the original International Karate to court, claiming plagiarism of its arcade hit Karate Champ, a case that was overruled when it was decided that you could not copyright a sport. Archer was deemed a developer ahead of his time, but has time finally took its toll on IK Plus, or are the fun and thrills of this 80s classic undiminished by its age? Today, in the courtroom of Amiga video game justice, once and for all, the jury shall decide. Now let's meet the defendants.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark Macrae, originally from London, England, now residing in Wellington, New Zealand. I'm a massive fan of anything Commodore 64, Amiga and arcade gaming related, and I'm also a contributing writer and editor for the ZZAP Amiga magazine from Fusion Retro. I'm also delighted to be discussing classic Amiga games on this channel, which I hold in such high regard.
Hey everybody, Bastish B here for the 64K YouTube channel. I'm originally from South Africa and now live in Canada, and I'm so glad to be finally making a series about classic Amiga gaming.
Hi, my name is David-Motowylak. I live in the United States and have been a long-time Amiga fan since I purchased my first Amiga 500 back in 1988.
You may now present your evidence.
Whenever I hear System 3's International Karate Plus mentioned, my mind immediately goes to the version that was released on the Commodore 64.
I first played this on the Commodore 64 and absolutely loved it.
Just like Mark and David, I too was introduced to this System 3 classic on my C64.
It is one of the showcase games on the platform that everybody played. The graphics were smooth and responsive, and of course you have to give props to that awesome Rob Hubbard soundtrack.
Being a huge fan of the Last Ninja series, I would literally just buy anything with the System 3 logo slapped on it, and luckily I was not disappointed.
That Rob Hubbard track was just the perfect backdrop to frantic karate beat-em-up action.
The sprite artwork of the karate fighters are seen as iconic images today in the world of retro gaming.
So much fun playing against my brother or slapping up friends whenever they came over to visit. Such good times.
But we are here to talk about the Amiga version, which came out in 1988, a year after the C64 version.
When I first saw the graphics to this game, I was pretty envious. I mean, the C64 version is no slouch in the looks department, but this just had that glossy 16-bit styled arcade quality look that made me want to go out and buy an Amiga just to play it.
The Amiga got a great port, with crisper, more detailed graphics and bone-crunching sound effects, which were actually sampled from Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, a great film.
Overall, the game gameplay is pretty much intact and the graphics got a facelift. Not a major facelift in my opinion. The colors are brighter, the ground has more detail, and there's some additional shading, but it looks nice.
I must say I prefer the gritty soundtrack by Rob Hubbard to the version coming out the Paula audio chip though.
The sampled Bruce Lee sound effects are excellent, and like the Double Dragon arcade, they really sell the beat 'em up action completely, coupled with a really good Amiga drum and bass version of Hubbard's tune that sounds absolutely fantastic by David Lowe, and I think the meaty deep beats on this version complement the loud, more realistic sound effects perfectly.
One thing about the game I've always liked are the little graphic additions that were included, such as the leaves falling from the tree, the submarine periscope popping out of the water, the spider crawling from his web, and of course, Pac-Man.
The most important thing preserved is the frantic gameplay, where you must fight 2 opponents and avoid coming last on points each round to survive. This is best in 2-player mode. I always remember making a deal with my friend that we'd gang up on the computer and leave each other alone, but then not one of us could resist a cheeky flying head kick or a headbutt when the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, those deals never worked out. We used to implement them also. The problem was when either you or your friend got reckless and accidentally landed a headbutt or flying kick on each other, then it was all out war, which ironically usually resulted in the computer winning. The gameplay here is spot on, exactly like the C64 version, and plays exceptionally well. Using directions to perform attacks may seem a little weird to younger players, but give it 5 minutes and a little bit of practice and it truly feels natural and is quick and responsive, just like the original.
IK Plus on the Amiga also included a new bonus round in addition to the bouncing balls. It's a bomb kick stage that adds a little bit more variety to the game, and it is not very easy.
The mini-game ball bouncing sequences here as well, adding that much needed variety to the gameplay. Plus there's a new one, a bomb mini-game as well, which is just as much fun but way harder. But again, it's still a welcome addition and definitely keeps you on your toes.
I find it can be difficult to line up your foot at just the right length in order to hit the bomb. It really takes a lot of practice.
I also love the interlude sections between bouts, where you need to survive a raft of bouncing balls or ticking bombs. The bomb section was new for the Amiga and I always enjoyed the challenge of trying to kick them away quickly before they blew me to smithereens.
Not only are there multiple speeds and skill levels, it's rewarding on its own to achieve new belt colors, starting from white and progressing to black. Plus, it is super satisfying to connect a hit just as you intended it. It really never gets old. It is really clever how there are so many moves supported with just a single joystick and one fire button. The manual states there are 17 different moves, and it's easy enough to grasp the game as a beginner, but as you become familiar with the controls, there's a lot of extra depth here.
My only gripe is that as a single player, it has limited lost ability, and that it's essentially a Karate Champ style game.
This game is definitely much more enjoyable though when played in 2-player mode. That frantic scramble to survive not only the computer but your other human opponent is completely unique, and it's strange that no modern fighting game has picked up on this excellent 3-person concept, at least not in this style completely.
And once you have achieved black belt status, there isn't much more depth to the game other than surviving for longer or getting a higher score.
It should be noted that the Amiga version was never officially released in the United States. Activision acquired the rights to the property and released a Commodore 64 version under the dreadful name Chop and Drop, and with an equally terrible cover. But sadly, Activision never brought over the Amiga version. I give this game very high marks and consider it to be the best fighting game on the Amiga.
It's still the best game in its genre to this day, and in 2022, I give this a big thumbs up with its legendary status, justified.
Overall for me, it's pure class all the way. Usually Amiga versions of C64 games never work out too well. Just see Creatures for an example. But this year is handled so well, and it's probably due to Archer doing everything himself, so the game feels 100% authentic to the original. As these style ports were usually farmed out to the highest bidder, who had no personal attachment to the game. Having said all that, I think RK Plus's Amiga Legend status is completely justified.
And the verdict is justified.
The court is now adjourned. All rise, and we'll see you again soon for the next case.